American Idol fans will remember William Hung when he became a viral sensation for his performance on the show. He didn't win, but he did gain a fair amount of fame singing at sports halftime shows.
At 42, William Hung stands at a crossroads few could have predicted when he first stepped onto that audition stage in 2004. The civil engineering student from UC Berkeley, who became an unlikely pop culture sensation, now lives a life dramatically different from both his pre-fame existence and the height of his celebrity. The journey from Hong Kong immigrant to American household name to where he stands today reveals something profound about fame's fleeting nature and the resilient human spirit that endures long after the spotlights dim. What happens when the world suddenly embraces you, but you're never quite sure if they're laughing with you or at you? This is the question that has followed William through every stage of his remarkable journey. From the cramped apartment in Los Angeles where he first dreamed of singing, to the bright lights of national television, to the quieter life he's crafted for himself today. William's story is one of extraordinary resilience in the face of fame's most complicated gifts. William Hung's early life reads like a classic immigrant tale, rooted in hope and marked by transition. Born in Hong Kong in 1983, young William's world was filled with the bustling energy of one of Asia's most dynamic cities. Narrow streets crowded with vendors, the constant hum of Cantonese conversations, and the scent of dim sum from nearby restaurants. His father, a civil servant, and his mother, a homemaker, emphasized education above all else in their modest home. William was just 10 years old when his family made the monumental decision to leave behind everything familiar and relocate to the United States, seeking the opportunities promised by American soil. The Hung family settled in the San Francisco Bay Area, specifically in Alameda, California, where William's childhood took a dramatic turn. The apartment they called home was smaller than their Hong Kong residence, with thin walls that couldn't quite contain the sounds of William's early singing practice. For a young boy who barely spoke English, America presented a labyrinth of cultural challenges. Classmates mocked his accent, his clothes, his lunch, the familiar arsenal of childhood cruelty toward anyone different. School hallways became daily obstacle courses of microaggressions and outright bullying. Yet within this difficult transition, William found unexpected comfort in American pop music. While his parents pushed for academic excellence, mathematics, science, anything that could secure a stable future, William secretly began memorizing lyrics from the radio. In the family's small bathroom, where the acoustics seemed friendlier, he would stand before the mirror after homework was complete, hairbrush in hand, mimicking the performances he'd seen on television. Music became his private language, a way to connect with his new country even when spoken words failed him. His parents' living room contained a small shelf of treasured possessions brought from Hong Kong. Jade figurines, family photographs with faded corners, a Chinese calendar marking important holidays. Next to these cultural touchstones, William kept a small collection of cassette tapes, then CDs, purchased with saved allowance money. While other immigrant children might have rejected their heritage in pursuit of fitting in, William seemed to internalize a unique blend, the disciplined work ethic of his Chinese upbringing alongside the uninhibited self-expression he admired in American entertainment. Teachers at his middle school recalled a quiet, diligent student who rarely volunteered answers but submitted impeccable homework. Few knew that this same studious boy would spend hours practicing dance moves in his bedroom, curtains drawn, moving furniture aside to create a makeshift stage. One teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, remembered how William's entire demeanor changed during a sixth-grade talent show when he performed a hesitant but heartfelt rendition of a popular song. It was like watching someone become themselves for the first time, she would later tell a documentary crew. His voice wasn't particularly strong, but there was something about his joy that made everyone root for him. These early performances, however modest, planted seeds that would later bloom in ways no one could have anticipated. William's father would often remind him, "Education first, everything else second," a mantra that guided William through high school and into college at UC Berkeley. Yet, even as he dutifully pursued civil engineering, that quiet dream of musical expression never quite faded. The karaoke machines in Chinatown became his weekend sanctuary, places where his passion could briefly emerge from the shadows of academic expectations. In these formative years, William developed the resilience that would later become his most recognizable trait. Each mockery of his accent became another brick in the foundation of his unshakable self-confidence. Each parental reminder about practical career paths only strengthened his secret determination to someday stand in the spotlight. The boy who carried textbooks by day and practiced dance moves by night was slowly building the courage that would eventually lead him to that fateful American Idol audition, a moment that would transform him from an anonymous engineering student into a cultural phenomenon. But here's where it gets complicated, because William Hung's path to that audition room wasn't paved with industry connections or years of professional training. While other contestants arrived with polished performances and resumes listing choir competitions and local theater roles, William's musical education consisted primarily of shower performances and karaoke nights. His was not the calculated trajectory of someone who had spent years preparing for fame. It was the genuine pursuit of someone following a passion, despite having few formal tools to succeed. The years before American Idol were marked by William's quiet persistence in environments that offered little encouragement. College peers remembered him as the reliable study partner who occasionally surprised them with his enthusiasm for campus karaoke events. One former classmate recalled, "He wasn't trying to be the next big thing. He just genuinely loved to sing and didn't seem bothered that his technical skills weren't at a professional level." This authenticity, this disconnect between ability and enthusiasm, would later become both his calling card and his cross to bear. Williams' decision to audition for American Idol in 2004 came not from a place of delusion about his abilities, but from a simple desire to experience the joy of performance on a larger stage. He stood in line for hours at the San Francisco auditions, civil engineering textbooks in his backpack, surrounded by contestants warming up their professionally trained voices. By most accounts, he practiced his chosen song, Ricky Martin's hit, repeatedly while waiting, drawing curious glances from those nearby. When finally, before judges Simon Cowell, Paula Abdul, and Randy Jackson, William delivered a performance that would quickly become one of the most viewed in the show's history, though not for the reasons most contestants hoped for. His energetic dancing, marked by unsynchronized movements and unbridled enthusiasm, paired with vocal work that charitably could be described as off-key, created a moment of television that judges clearly weren't prepared for. Simon Cowell's characteristically harsh assessment that William couldn't sing, dance, or perform was met not with tears or anger, but with William's disarmingly earnest response. "I already gave my best, and I have no regrets at all." That line, delivered with such genuine conviction, would become the foundation of Williams' unexpected appeal. In an entertainment landscape often defined by calculation and image management, his unfiltered sincerity cut through the noise. The audition, initially broadcast as one of the show's famous bad audition segments meant to entertain viewers at contestants' expense, sparked something different than the typical audience reaction. Rather than simple mockery, Williams' performance generated a complex response that included genuine appreciation for his authentic self-expression. Rejected by the judges, William returned to his engineering studies at Berkeley, unaware that the brief audition footage would soon catapult him into a spotlight far more intense than anything the actual competition could have offered. Within days of the episode's airing, William Hung became a name known in households across America. His audition clips spread across the internet, replayed on talk shows, and discussed around office water coolers. He had achieved the fame that most American Idol contestants dream of, but through a path no one would have deliberately chosen. And that's when everything changed. Williams' phone began ringing with interview requests. Jay Leno wanted him on The Tonight Show. Ellen DeGeneres was calling. Local news stations camped outside his apartment. The engineering student who had been invisible just days before suddenly couldn't walk across campus without being stopped for autographs and photographs. Williams' life transformed overnight from the structured routine of classes and study sessions to a whirlwind of media appearances and performance requests. What makes this period of Williams' life so remarkable wasn't just the suddenness of his fame, but his response to it. While many might have retreated from what could easily be perceived as public ridicule, William embraced his moment with the same unshakable positivity he displayed in that audition room. "I don't want to give up this opportunity," he told reporters. "I want to make the most of it." The entertainment industry, ever ready to capitalize on a trending phenomenon, quickly came calling. Incredibly, William received a $25,000 recording contract with Coke Entertainment, a deal that would have been unimaginable before his audition. His debut album, Inspiration, was rushed into production. Against all conventional music industry wisdom, it sold over 200,000 copies and reached number 34 on the Billboard 200 chart. William Hung, the engineering student with no formal music training whose audition had been broadcast as entertainment at his expense, had officially become a recording artist. This unexpected success led to appearances on everything from The Ellen DeGeneres Show to Dateline NBC. William performed at sporting events, including a memorable appearance at a Clippers-Warriors NBA game. He starred in commercials and music videos. He was invited to return to American Idol, not as a contestant, but as a celebrated guest. For a brief, remarkable period in 2004 and 2005, William Hung experienced a level of fame that most professional musicians spend decades trying to achieve. What made William's breakthrough so culturally significant was how it seemed to challenge fundamental assumptions about talent, entertainment, and authenticity. In an industry often criticized for valuing manufactured image over genuine personality, William's success appeared to validate something more human: the courage to pursue passion regardless of natural ability, the strength to remain positive in the face of criticism, the power of simply being oneself without apology. Yet, hovering beneath the surface of this Cinderella story was a troubling question that would follow William throughout his time in the spotlight. Was America celebrating him or laughing at him? Were fans drawn to his authentic joy or mocking an immigrant's accent and earnest ambition? The lines were never clearly drawn, and this ambiguity would eventually cast a shadow over William's remarkable rise. The peak of William Hung's unexpected fame contained moments of genuine triumph that few could have predicted during his humble beginnings. His album, Inspiration, not only charted, an achievement many trained musicians never realized, but became a cultural conversation piece. His appearances on major television shows generated ratings. His catchphrase, "I already gave my best and I have no regrets at all," found its way onto t-shirts and merchandise, speaking to something universal in the human experience: the desire to be validated not for perfection, but for authentic effort. Perhaps the most powerful illustration of his cultural impact came during his college graduation from UC Berkeley with a degree in civil engineering. What should have been a personal milestone became a media event, with fellow graduates asking for autographs as William crossed the stage to receive his diploma. This moment perfectly encapsulated the dual nature of William's achievement. He had maintained his educational goals despite the whirlwind of fame, graduating from one of America's most prestigious universities, while simultaneously building an entertainment career that defied all conventional paths. Williams' performances during this period revealed something remarkable about audience connection. While technically limited by traditional standards, his shows generated genuine enthusiasm from crowds who seemed to respond to his joyful presence. At a performance in Hawaii, William was reportedly moved to tears by the audience's warm reception. "I never expected people to treat me with such kindness," he told a local reporter afterward. "I'm just trying to spread happiness through my music." Behind this public success, however, lay the grinding reality of what it meant to be William Hung's celebrity. His schedule became punishing: interviews, performances, recording sessions, all while trying to complete his engineering degree. Friends from his pre-fame life reported rarely seeing him during this period. His parents, initially skeptical of his entertainment pursuits, found themselves fielding calls from media outlets and managing the complex emotions that came with seeing their son simultaneously celebrated and, in some corners, ridiculed. Industry professionals who worked with William during this time described someone remarkably grounded despite the surreal nature of his situation. A sound engineer from his album recording sessions recalled, "He worked harder than many professional singers I've seen. He would do take after take, always with the same enthusiasm, always trying to improve." This work ethic, the same diligence that had carried him through his academic challenges, became the foundation of his approach to his unexpected music career. What makes Williams' peak success particularly poignant is how it challenged conventional narratives about the American dream. As an immigrant who had struggled with cultural adaptation and language barriers, William found fame not by assimilating perfectly or by hiding his differences, but by fully embracing his authentic self, accent, unconventional performance, style, and all. For many viewers, especially those from immigrant backgrounds, Williams' success represented something powerful: the possibility that America might celebrate you not despite your differences, but because of the courage it takes to express them. Now, if you're wondering what it must have felt like to experience such sudden fame built on such complicated foundations, William has offered glimpses through various interviews over the years. Sometimes I would read comments online and feel confused, he admitted to a journalist in 2011. People would say they loved me, but then say things that seemed mean. I decided to focus only on the positive messages. This selective focus became Williams' survival strategy as the complex nature of his celebrity became increasingly apparent. While many fans genuinely appreciated his positive attitude and authentic self-expression, others viewed him through a more problematic lens, as an object of mockery or worse, as a stereotype reinforcing harmful perceptions of Asian Americans. Cultural critics began questioning whether Williams' fame represented a step forward for Asian representation in American media or a troubling regression to outdated tropes. The question of exploitation loomed large as Williams' moment in the spotlight continued. Was the entertainment industry treating him fairly? Were producers and promoters capitalizing on what some viewed as mockery? William himself has consistently maintained that he understood the nature of his fame and embraced it willingly. "I knew not everyone thought I was a great singer," he told an interviewer years later, "but they gave me a chance to perform, and that's what I wanted." This perspective, Williams' apparent awareness of his position coupled with his choice to embrace it anyway, complicates simplistic narratives about his story. It suggests agency where some observers saw only exploitation, resilience where others saw naivety. The truth, as with most human stories, likely contains elements of both. A young immigrant seizing an unexpected opportunity while not fully comprehending the cultural forces at play around him. What's undeniable is that William approached his fame with remarkable grace. When Idol judge Simon Cowell was asked about Williams' success, his response was dismissive, suggesting the public was only interested in a joke that would quickly fade. Williams' response demonstrated his characteristic positivity. "I respect his opinion. He's entitled to it. I'm just going to keep doing what makes me happy." The debate around Williams' fame reflected larger cultural questions about authenticity, performance, and the sometimes blurry line between celebration and mockery. Was Williams' popularity a refreshing rejection of the polished, manufactured celebrity image? Or was it a troubling case of an industry and audience taking advantage of someone's earnestness? The complexity of these questions makes Williams' peak fame period more than just an entertaining footnote in American pop culture. It becomes a mirror reflecting uncomfortable truths about what we value and why. Behind the bright lights of Williams' unexpected stardom lay private struggles that few fans glimpsed during his moment in the spotlight. As the novelty of his fame began to wane, as it inevitably does in a culture constantly hungry for the next viral sensation, William faced the harsh reality of entertainment's fickle nature. By 2006, just 2 years after his American Idol audition, the interview requests had slowed to a trickle. The performance invitations became less prestigious. The third album sold a fraction of what his debut had achieved. For someone whose entire identity had suddenly been reconstructed around this unexpected celebrity, the gradual disappearance of public attention created a profound crisis of purpose. Friends reported that William maintained his characteristic positivity in public while privately grappling with questions about his future. The engineering degree that should have been his safety net had been put on hold for a music career that now appeared to be evaporating. William found himself caught between worlds, no longer famous enough to sustain an entertainment career, but too recognized to simply return to anonymous normal life. Financial challenges accompanied this professional uncertainty. While William had earned significant money during his peak fame, reportedly hundreds of thousands of dollars from album sales, appearances, and merchandise, the expenses associated with his career had consumed much of it. Management fees, travel costs, and the realities of California's high cost of living left William in a precarious position as the income stream slowed. According to those close to him, William had been generous with his earnings, helping family members and rarely adopting the lavish lifestyle associated with celebrity. This generosity, while admirable, meant he had less cushion when the spotlight began to dim. Perhaps the most painful loss during this period was the gradual erosion of William's defining optimism. The young man who had famously declared, "I have no regrets," began questioning the path his life had taken. In rare unguarded moments during later interviews, William acknowledged the emotional toll of fame's departure. The hardest part wasn't losing the attention, he told a journalist in 2010. It was wondering if I had made the right choices, if I had wasted years that should have been spent building a more stable career. This period also brought relationship challenges. William's sudden fame had made dating complicated. He never knew if potential partners were interested in him or his celebrity. As that celebrity faded, he faced different but equally difficult questions about identity and worth. William has generally kept his romantic life private, but sources close to him describe this period as one of profound loneliness despite having been recognized by millions. Family dynamics also shifted during this difficult transition. William's parents, who had initially been skeptical of his entertainment pursuits before reluctantly embracing his success, now faced complicated emotions as they watched their son struggle with fame's aftermath. The cultural expectation of filial success weighed heavily on William, who felt he had traded a conventional path to stability for a brief moment in the spotlight. What makes this chapter of William's story particularly moving is how he eventually found his way through this darkness. Unlike many former celebrities who become defined by bitter resentment or desperate attempts to recapture faded glory, William gradually rebuilt his life with the same quiet determination that had characterized his pre-fame years. He returned to his education, completed his engineering degree, and eventually secured work in his original field. A rare example of someone who experienced extraordinary fame and then willingly returned to ordinary life. This transition wasn't without pain. Former colleagues reported that William sometimes encountered mockery in professional settings, with new acquaintances making references to his American Idol audition or requesting impromptu performances. Yet, with characteristic resilience, William found ways to incorporate his unusual past into his new present, rather than trying to erase it. "My experience taught me how to handle pressure and disappointment," he told a small engineering publication in 2012. Those are valuable skills in any profession. But here's where it gets complicated, because William's journey after fame reveals something profound about celebrity's lasting impact on identity. Even as he rebuilt a more conventional life, William could never fully escape the public persona that had briefly defined him. His name remained eternally linked to that audition, that moment, that phenomenon. In building a post-fame identity, William faced challenges most of us can barely imagine, reconciling the extraordinary with the ordinary, integrating a public self with a private one. What makes William's response to these challenges remarkable was his refusal to become bitter or to view his fame as either a cruel joke or a lost paradise. Instead, he gradually developed a nuanced perspective that acknowledged both the opportunities his brief celebrity had provided and its genuine costs. This philosophical approach, neither denying his past nor being consumed by it, allowed William to craft something few former viral celebrities achieve: a meaningful second act. The years following fame's peak brought unexpected turns in William's personal life. While maintaining his privacy, public records and occasional interviews reveal that he explored various career paths with the same adaptability that had helped him navigate sudden fame. After working as a civil engineer, William took a position as a technical crime analyst with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, a role that utilized his analytical skills while keeping him far from the entertainment spotlight. This career shift represented more than just professional reinvention. It reflected Williams' emerging philosophy about meaningful contribution. "I realized I wanted to help people in more direct ways," he explained in a rare interview about this period. "Entertainment makes people happy, which is valuable, but I was drawn to work that could make a tangible difference in community safety." Even more surprisingly, William later pivoted again, becoming a professional poker player for a period, a career choice that seemed worlds away from both engineering and entertainment. Yet those who understood Williams' analytical mind saw coherence in this path. Poker, like engineering, rewards mathematical thinking and pattern recognition. Like entertainment, it involves performance and psychology. This unexpected career chapter demonstrated Williams' continuing willingness to redefine himself on his own terms rather than allowing his viral fame moment to become his only defining characteristic. Throughout these transformations, William maintained connections with the entertainment world without being consumed by it. He made occasional appearances on reality shows and specials about viral fame, always approaching these opportunities with good humor and perspective. Rather than rejecting his past or desperately clinging to it, William seemed to achieve something more difficult, integrating it as just one chapter in a continuing life story. Perhaps the most meaningful developments in Williams' post-fame life came through his growing involvement with organizations supporting Asian American representation in entertainment. Having experienced firsthand both the opportunities and challenges of being an Asian face in American media, William began speaking at colleges and community events about his unique perspective. Without bitterness or regret, he discussed complicated questions about representation, stereotyping, and authenticity that his own fame had raised. This evolution, from inadvertent viral sensation to thoughtful cultural commentator, revealed depths to William that few had recognized during his moment in the spotlight. The young man once framed as either inspiration or punchline emerged as something more complex, a person with valuable insights about media, identity, and the true meaning of success in America. In these quieter years, William also found time to nurture personal connections that had been difficult to maintain during his whirlwind fame. Friends describe him reconnecting with college classmates, strengthening family bonds, and building a community based on genuine shared interests rather than celebrity. These relationships provided something fame never could: stable foundations for a meaningful life beyond the capricious attention of public fascination. Now, if you're wondering what William himself has said about this unusual life journey, his public statements reflect the same optimistic resilience that first captured America's attention. In a 2018 interview, he reflected, "Everyone experiences rejection and disappointment. Mine just happened very publicly. But I've always believed that how you respond to challenges matters more than the challenges themselves." This perspective, framing even his most difficult experiences as opportunities for growth, has become Williams' philosophical trademark. Rather than seeing himself as either victim or failure, William consistently positions himself as a student of life, extracting lessons from every chapter of his unconventional journey. When asked if he regrets his American Idol audition, the moment that altered the entire trajectory of his life, Williams' answer reveals the wisdom he's gained. "How could I regret something that taught me so much about myself and the world? It wasn't always easy, but it was always educational." This ability to find value, even in painful experiences, distinguishes Williams' narrative from the often tragic trajectories of other viral celebrities. The public's fascination with William has evolved over time as well. What began as either mockery or simple novelty has, for many, transformed into genuine appreciation for his resilience and growth. Online comments about William today often express admiration for how he's navigated his unusual path with grace and adaptability. The same internet that once made him famous for arguably problematic reasons now celebrates his journey toward authentic self-definition. Cultural critics have increasingly reassessed Williams' impact, particularly in discussions about Asian American representation in media. What once might have been dismissed as a simple case of exploitative entertainment has been recognized as a more complex cultural moment, one that both reflected problematic stereotypes and, through Williams' dignified response, began challenging them. His refusal to be defined by others' perceptions of him now appears not as naivety, but as quiet revolutionary resistance. William's story continues to resonate because it touches on universal human experiences: the desire for recognition, the pain of rejection, the challenge of crafting an authentic identity in a world that prefers simple narratives. By maintaining his humanity through extraordinary circumstances, William transformed what could have been merely a cautionary tale into something more akin to a hero's journey, complete with trials, transformation, and eventual wisdom. Throughout his adult life, William has maintained meaningful connections with a small circle of trusted friends and family members who knew him before fame temporarily transformed his existence. These relationships provided crucial stability during the tumultuous peaks and valleys of public attention, anchoring William to his authentic self when media narratives threatened to reduce him to a one-dimensional character. William's parents, whose initial skepticism about his entertainment pursuits gave way to cautious support during his fame, remained his most consistent advocates. According to those close to the family, they worried about the emotional impact of both the spotlight and its eventual dimming, but never wavered in their fundamental belief in their son's resilience. William has spoken with particular warmth about his mother's practical advice during his most challenging periods. "She always told me to focus on what I could control and let go of what I couldn't. That helped more than anything else." Beyond family, William maintained connections with several college friends who knew him as a dedicated engineering student before American Idol changed everything. These friendships proved especially valuable during his transition away from fame, providing continuity with his pre-celebrity identity. One former classmate, speaking anonymously to a reporter in 2015, described William's gratitude toward those who treated him normally during his peak fame. "He once told me that the most precious thing was just having people who saw him as William, not as that guy from TV." William's romantic life has remained largely private, a remarkable achievement in an era of constant social media exposure. What little is known suggests that William approached relationships with the same thoughtful intentionality he eventually brought to his career choices, valuing genuine connection over public perception. After experiencing the complicated dynamics of dating as a minor celebrity, William reportedly became skilled at discerning authentic interest from fascination with his unusual past. Perhaps most touchingly, William developed meaningful relationships with fans who connected with him for reasons deeper than novelty or irony. Over years of public appearances, he encountered people who found genuine inspiration in his journey. Immigrants who recognized their own struggles in his story, people who had faced ridicule and found strength in his resilience, individuals who simply appreciated his unfailing kindness in an often cynical industry. These connections, though not traditional friendships, provided William with evidence that his impact extended beyond mere entertainment value. What makes William's relationship history particularly moving is how it reflects his journey toward self-acceptance. In early interviews, William sometimes expressed uncertainty about how others perceived him, wondering if people were laughing at him rather than with him. As he matured, this concern gradually transformed into a more confident approach to connection. "I realized I can't control how others see me," he told an interviewer in 2019. "I can only be myself and welcome those who appreciate that person." Through this personal evolution, William developed what friends describe as a remarkable ability to distinguish between authentic connection and exploitation, a skill hard-won through his unusual experiences with fame. This discernment allowed him to build a support system based on mutual respect rather than celebrity fascination, creating space for genuine friendship beyond the distorting lens of public attention. In recent years, William has occasionally shared insights about the importance of these authentic relationships in maintaining perspective through life's transitions. "Success doesn't mean much if you don't have people to share it with," he observed during a rare in-depth interview, "and struggles are easier when you're not facing them alone." This wisdom, simple yet profound, reflects William's journey from isolated celebrity to connected human being. At 42, William Hung stands at a crossroads that few could have predicted when he first stepped onto that American Idol stage over 2 decades ago. The engineering student turned viral sensation turned crime analyst turned poker player has lived several lifetimes of experience compressed into a relatively young age. Today, William navigates a world vastly different from both his pre-fame existence and the height of his celebrity, balancing private contentment with the permanent shadow of his public persona. Recent years have brought both new challenges and unexpected opportunities. While maintaining the low-profile personal life he's carefully constructed, William has selectively embraced chances to reshape his public narrative on his own terms. A 2023 documentary appearance allowed him to directly address questions about exploitation and agency that have surrounded his fame story for years. With characteristic thoughtfulness, William neither dismissed concerns about how the entertainment industry treated him, nor positioned himself as a victim, instead offering a nuanced perspective. "I was young and didn't fully understand the cultural dynamics at play, but I made my choices with the information I had. I've grown from that experience rather than being defined by it." This reflective approach, acknowledging complexity without bitterness, has increasingly characterized William's rare public statements. When asked by a journalist whether he feels his fame was built on mockery, William's response revealed hard-won wisdom. "Fame is always built on projections. What audiences need you to represent for them? Some people saw me as a joke, others as inspiration. The truth was always more complicated than either view." The question that now seems to occupy William most deeply isn't about the past, but the future. What does meaningful contribution look like in a life that has already experienced such extraordinary highs and challenging lows? According to those close to him, William has explored various avenues for translating his unique experiences into service, mentoring young Asian Americans navigating entertainment careers, speaking about resilience and authenticity at community events, working behind the scenes to advocate for more nuanced representation in media. While William's current professional life remains primarily outside entertainment, he hasn't completely closed that chapter. Occasional appearances on retrospective shows about American Idol or early internet culture allow him to revisit his past with perspective rather than nostalgia or regret. In these appearances, William demonstrates remarkable growth, able to laugh gently at his younger self while honoring the courage that younger versions showed in pursuing his dreams despite obvious limitations. What makes William's current chapter particularly poignant is how it challenges conventional narratives about former celebrities. Neither desperate for renewed attention nor bitterly rejecting his past, William has crafted a mature identity that incorporates his unusual experiences without being limited by them. This integration, this ability to be neither defined by fame nor in denial about its impact, represents a psychological accomplishment far more impressive than his brief chart success. For those who have followed William's journey from the beginning, his current stability carries profound meaning. The immigrant student who once stood before judges receiving harsh criticism about his abilities has become something more significant than a singer or entertainer. He has become a fully realized person who determined his own value rather than accepting others' definitions. In a culture that often treats viral celebrities as disposable entertainment rather than complex humans deserving dignity, William's continued evolution represents a quiet triumph. What will the next chapters hold for this remarkable individual who has already lived such an unconventional life? Only William knows for certain, but those who know him best describe someone increasingly comfortable with life's uncertainties. He's learned that plans change, sometimes dramatically, one friend observed. That knowledge brings a certain freedom. You prepare for the future without being attached to exactly how it unfolds. As William himself reflected in a recent interview, life rarely follows the path we expect. Sometimes that's painful, sometimes it's wonderful. The trick is learning to navigate the changes with grace. For someone whose entire adult life has been shaped by an unexpected 3-minute audition and its aftermath, this philosophical approach to uncertainty feels not just wise, but earned through genuine experience. Will William Hung ever return to the spotlight in a significant way? It seems unlikely given his carefully constructed post-fame life, but perhaps that's not the question that matters most. The more meaningful question might be, Will William continue finding ways to transform his unusual experiences into wisdom that benefits others? On that front, all evidence suggests the answer is a resounding yes. William Hung's journey reminds us that true significance isn't measured in fame's fleeting currency, but in the ability to maintain dignity and growth through life's most challenging transitions. The man who once captured America's attention through an unlikely audition now offers something more valuable than entertainment. He provides a living example of resilience, adaptation, and the courage to define success on one's own terms. In a culture obsessed with overnight success and quick fame, William Hung's legacy transcends his brief moment of celebrity to offer something far more enduring, a testament to authenticity's power and the human capacity for evolution beyond public definition. His is not primarily a story about American Idol, viral fame, or even music. It is a story about maintaining humanity in extraordinary circumstances and emerging stronger for having faced them. William's journey from Hong Kong immigrant to engineering student to unexpected celebrity to thoughtful adult navigating life on his own terms encapsulates something universal about the human experience, our ongoing struggle to define ourselves authentically in a world eager to assign us limiting narratives. By refusing both shame and nostalgia, William has achieved something remarkable. He has reclaimed his story from those who would reduce it to mere entertainment. For those who have followed William's journey through its many chapters, his current life offers reassurance that even the most unusual paths can lead to meaningful destinations. The young man who once declared, "I have no regrets," has transformed that simple statement into a profound life philosophy, not through denial of pain or challenge, but through the harder work of integrating every experience into a coherent and authentic whole. William Hung's story continues to unfold, as all our stories do, day by day, choice by choice. But it has already offered a powerful reminder that our defining moments need not be our final ones, that with courage and persistence, we can always write new chapters that honor our past while refusing to be limited by it. If you've ever been moved by his journey or found inspiration in his resilience, consider leaving a like as a small tribute to this extraordinary spirit who showed America what it truly means to perform without fear and live without regret.